The economic war is far from over. We're now in 2025, and the global power struggle between Russia and the West has only escalated. The G7 nations, spearheaded by the United States, have taken drastic steps that could reshape global financial and political dynamics. The G7 has taken control of over $300 billion worth of Russia's central bank reserves. These funds, initially frozen after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, are no longer just sitting idle. They're actively being used to support Ukraine, both financially and militarily. In 2024, the G7 approved a plan to utilize $50 billion of these assets as collateral to provide loans to Ukraine. This initiative was led by the US, which contributed $20 billion, with the remaining funds coming from the EU, UK, Canada, and Japan. The seized funds are financing weapon purchases, infrastructure rebuilding, and economic stability for Ukraine. But here's the twist. This isn't just aid. It's a direct hit on Russia's economy. Unsurprisingly, the Kremlin isn't taking this lightly. Over the past 2 years, President Vladimir Putin's administration has ramped up countermeasures against Western nations and their corporations operating in Russia. A Russian court has ordered Austria's Raiffeisenbank International to pay a whopping €2 billion in damages over a collapsed deal. This case is emblematic of Russia's broader strategy to hit back against Western firms. Moscow's message is clear: if you seize our assets, we'll take yours. Putin has also signed a decree allowing Russia to confiscate US assets within its borders. These moves are part of a broader shift in Russia's economic policy to reduce reliance on the West and align more closely with BRICS nations and China. Western businesses still operating in Russia are now in a precarious position. Despite the sanctions, many European banks and companies continue to profit heavily from their Russian operations. For example, Austria's Raiffeisenbank's profits tripled in the last 2 years, reaching €1.8 billion in 2024. These firms are essentially stuck. Their cash is trapped within Russia, and the Kremlin is using this leverage to its advantage. Russia has several methods to retaliate against these companies. Taxation, increasing taxes on foreign businesses in specific sectors. Court orders, imposing hefty fines or damages, as seen with Raiffeisenbank. Nationalization, taking over foreign-owned assets under state control. The seizure of Russia's central bank reserves has raised critical questions about the safety of foreign reserves. For decades, countries have trusted the US dollar and Western financial institutions to safeguard their assets. However, the actions against Russia have shattered this trust for many nations, especially in the BRICS bloc. China, for instance, has been quietly reducing its holdings of US Treasury bonds for years. At its peak, China held $1.3 trillion in US debt. By the end of 2024, this figure had dropped to just $768 billion, a 42% decline. Beijing is now redirecting its surplus funds into infrastructure projects worldwide, such as the $3.7 billion oil refinery in Sri Lanka and the $1.3 billion megaport in Peru. This strategic shift underscores China's goal of creating alternative trade routes and reducing its reliance on the US-led financial system. Adding fuel to the fire, President Donald Trump has made bold pledges about US economic policy since returning to office in January 2025. Trump has promised to bring manufacturing back to America by slashing corporate tax rates from 21% to 15%. While this sounds great on paper, it comes with a hefty price tag, a projected $3 trillion increase in the US budget deficit over the next decade. Who will fund this deficit? With China and other major buyers stepping away from US debt, the burden will likely fall on domestic institutions and ordinary Americans. This could lead to higher interest rates and a weaker dollar, further destabilizing the global economy. Economic war of 2025 is a high-stakes game with no easy answers. As the West drains Russia's frozen reserves to fund Ukraine, Russia is retaliating by targeting Western firms and aligning with new economic partners. Meanwhile, the trust in US-led financial systems is eroding, pushing nations like China and Russia to explore alternative avenues. The big question remains: can this economic war end without a total financial meltdown? Will Russia and the West find common ground? Or is this the beginning of a new world order? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates on these critical global issues.